Hello and welcome to episode 350 of the Double Clutch NBA podcast. My name is Matthew Wellington and I'm joined tonight once again by Mike Miller, who for some reason is...
Is how I was going to start the show, but I'm not going to now.
No, I was a bit thrown off by that. I can't work out if that was you or if that was Kurt.
No, that was all me with an audio drop, and then threw my iPad across the room. Yeah, that was how I was going to start the show, but I won't because it didn't happen.
How are you in lockdown free Guildford or wherever it is you are?
Guildford? I'm not Guildford.
You're in Ashford, aren't you?
Yeah, Ashford. That's a completely different county.
Is Guildford Nick? I can't remember.
Yeah, Nick's Guildford, ish. But yeah, no, I'm very well, thank you. How are you in Norfolk, which is apparently south, according to you?
Well, according to some of my friends who are very, very northern, it is south to them. But yeah, I'm all right. We're surviving COVID restrictions. Not that we've got any down here too badly yet. Please check out the website doubleclutch.uk. There's been a couple of bits of content that's gone up this past week. Mainly the NBA2K21 press release, which I myself did, and I kind of tore apart the press release and added in my own thoughts, which we thought was a good idea. So we've posted that up there, and that's led to a game which apparently we're going to be playing later that Kirk, our producer, who's hiding in the background, is going to throw at us. So we'll see what happens with that one. But anyway, we just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who's contributed to Double Clutch over the past 8 years. 350 shows is a pretty remarkable achievement for just a bunch of fans. We're not a professional outlet or anything, as much as we try to be one. When I started, it was just me and Andy Duncan, and we had Matt Bates join, Frankie Hobbs, Zach Salzman, Joe Hulbert played a massive part in this, and yeah, Mike turned up, and he's still here.
somehow still here 5 years later.
But yeah, since 2012 we've been doing this, and we're now on video, which is something I never even dreamt of doing. But with Kurt coming in, the expertise is now there. So yeah.
So for all those listening on audio devices, why not come and check us out on twitch.com/doubleclutchuk.
Yeah, and if you haven't already done so, join our Discord, which has been busy again this week. Discord.me/doubleclutch. Come and join the chaos that's been on there. Obviously, with the NBA 2K news, there's been plenty of people chatting on there and arguing, and with the LeBron win last night, there's been plenty of GOAT debate again. I don't think it's spilled onto Twitter this time, not that I was aware of.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I'm sure it will. Just give it
probably
time.
Will.
Twitter's been full of it today, the GOAT debate. I saw someone shared a screenshot of it trending, the whole Jordan LeBron, and they wrote down something that basically said, well, since Twitter was conceived, hasn't this been a trending topic at one point or another each day? So yeah, I don't think that's what the narrative of the final should be, to be honest. And that's not me trying to hide from the argument, which I'll quite welcome and take on, but I just don't think that's what the narrative should be.
We don't need any more arguments either. We've had that debate, probably countless times since you've been on the show, and it's always we seem to end up in the same place every time, so there's no point in having it tonight. But anyway, this is the final show of this season, which has been the longest season in living memory. I mean, we did do a lockout season once, but that wasn't anything too stressful with games tipping off in December. But
that's a shorter season. This one's 367 days.
I know. Whereas this one, I mean, we have we'll get onto it later, but we have no idea when the next one will start. So it's all just completely, it's like some sort of, we've had so much basketball that we're all now like, well, now what do we do? And we posted that on Twitter and Facebook earlier and got some amusing GIF-related responses from people. So, yeah, I think NBA fans in this country are now a bit confuddled as to what to do. But the Lakers did win their 17th NBA title last night. LeBron James won his 4th, or this morning, sorry. And this wasn't really a game, was it? It was not a competitive matchup at all. It was all over after about 11 minutes. Unfortunately, Miami has been struggling with injuries throughout this series. Goran Dragic did his best to play in this game 6, but couldn't give it his all in the end. And I think the series would have been different if we'd have seen a fully fit Miami Heat, because they function a lot better when Dragic is on the floor, and obviously when Bam Adebayo is at full health. But full credit to the Lakers for riding out what has been an incredibly difficult season, an incredibly tough mental season for that team as well, especially with the loss of Kobe Bryant. And for LeBron James to do what he set out to do when he went back and went to LA in the first place, which was get them back on the map after 10 years without a finals appearance. So they've got there and they've won that. I mean, did the Lakers prove last night that you don't have to be a jump shooting team to win in the NBA right now?
Did they? Oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's a curveball.
I like throwing
Look
some
at
curveballs.
you.
Oh,
Well, I guess they proved that you don't have to. Yeah, by the matter of fact that they won without being a jump shooting team, they must have proved that you can do it. If that makes sense.
yeah. Well, the interesting stat, and I did a deep dive last night of having a look at the stats, and the Lakers had 25 points in the restricted area, which is just, compared to what Miami had, it was ridiculous. And the whole game, I think, is it Jay Skeets or one of the guys? It's not the stars anymore, is it? Was it No Dunks?
No dunks.
Yeah, they were tweeting like, this is one of those games that anyone who says LeBron and AD aren't aggressive enough is just sitting there like, in silence, because there's nothing they can say, because LeBron and AD from the very off were just, let's just go straight to the restricted area and we'll score on them all night. And that was basically the tale of the game. And when you're down by as many as 36 points like the Miami Heat were, there isn't much you can do. And it's that long running theme that we've had throughout this postseason of the teams that have ended up stuck in really deep double-digit holes just have not got back. And the Lakers buried it early, kind of like they did in game 1 and 2, and they just never took their foot off the gas, really.
Yeah, I was disappointed in the game itself.
Yeah, it was the worst.
And that feels really sort of, what's it called? That sounds like I'm trying to be really negative the whole time. But it's just, I don't know. It felt to me like there needed to be, pun intended, more coal in the Heat's furnace. It just wasn't there. There wasn't the desperation. I didn't feel that they wanted it, which was remarkable given the persona and just the vibe that Jimmy Butler has given off for this whole thing. It just seemed like that maybe they were out of gas. Maybe it was taking its toll how much he'd had to carry them in the first 5 games. Maybe it's finally the impact of the injuries on Bam and Dragic that was sort of just knocking them down. Maybe it was just the Lakers being, extremely good on defense and just putting their foot on their throats. I don't know. But oddly, I think they would have played better in this game if they hadn't played Bam as much. Like, I know he led them in scoring.
Yeah.
But I just think the way that Olynyk had played, and that is not to say that Olynyk is a better player or even close to being what
He's
Bam
the only
is.
reason this wasn't a sweep in the first place.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. Like, for this series specifically, Bam was a negative matchup issue. He can't spread the floor. The minute and that's something he's working on. He's developing. He added that mid-range jump shot to his game last summer. Just before Team USA tryouts, when he was inexcusably cut for one of the Plumleys, or a Zeller, one of those. I'm guessing it was a Plumlee. It was definitely a Plumlee. It was Miles Plumlee. Or was it Mason? I can't remember now. Doesn't matter. Plumleys. But the point is, if he could have spread the floor, that would have opened up the opportunities for so many other players on that team. Yeah. Like, we saw what a defensive impact he has when he's able to hang around the rim. So do something to pull him away from the rim. What I thought was crazy was that they went small. The Lakers went small, bring Caruso in for Howard. And immediately I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to go a bit longer now because they've only got one defensive rim protector and you can pull him away from the hoop. And they just didn't.
Yeah, it was a strange game because obviously Dragic tried his best, and I have a feeling if Dragic had been healthy, he'd have been a real sort of equalizer in this series. Because if you go back and look at the previous games that Miami played against, Boston and Milwaukee, he was hitting really tough contested shots, and they didn't have anybody doing that besides Jimmy Butler in this series. And obviously Jimmy Butler gassed himself out completely in games 5 and 3, but. And I mean, we haven't mentioned game 5, but this series could have been over like in game 5 if Danny Green had made that shot. The whole argument about LeBron should have just taken it himself seems a bit irrelevant considering how wide open Danny Green was. I mean, what do you draw into that narrative that LeBron wasn't as aggressive as he should have been in the previous game, and they shouldn't have even been a game 6?
So the argument is, well, LeBron should have wanted to take that shot, and he should have worked for something other than drawing a triple team.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but you have to understand that this is LeBron James. Okay, you can put one defender on him, it won't stop him.
Doesn't
You can
make
put
a
two
difference.
defenders on him,
Yeah.
it's not going to stop him. Because we saw like yesterday where they checked to see if it was a flagrant with the elbow. He can just barrel through multiple players. So you have to send three at him. We saw it in the Denver series as well when he kicked out to KCP on the right wing, who swung it to the top for Caruso, and he clanked it. And I saw people giving LeBron stick then. No. Okay, yes, you want your best player to take the ball at the end of the game, and ideally you want him to take the shot, but you want him to take the best shot that puts the team in the best position to win. And you need a player who's smart enough to go, well, hold on. If three people are coming at me, I can kick because at least two guys are open.
Yeah.
And like as great as LeBron James is, with three guys draped on you, shooting is a lot harder than shooting wide open. But then to all the horrible people who have taken it out on Danny Green.
Yeah, what the hell was that all about?
This is a game. Like whatever is going on in your life, just recognise this is a game, because there is no need for that reaction at all. It's disgusting. And let's face it, Danny Green hasn't had the best series. He's carrying a hip injury, but this is the NBA. Guys at that level miss shots still. Like that's why, even an unopened three, if you are clipping at 50%, you are incredible.
Yeah.
So, like 50% then in the finals is going to, and I get that people shoot only 34% from three, 36% when they're guarded. Fine, goes up when they're not guarded, but plus the pressure of the finals, he's going to miss it more times than he's going to hit it. There are very few players in the league who will make that more times than they'll miss it. So just leave Danny Green alone.
Yeah, in terms of that being a competitive game as well, like you had LeBron and Jimmy Butler just going back and forth. I think LeBron finished with 40 in that game. Like that was the moment we were all waiting for. We were waiting for the two alpha dogs on each team just to go back and forth and give us one of those, epic finals matchups. And we got that game. And I have a funny feeling if the Lakers had won that would have done, that would have been like the ultimate game to win for Kobe Bryant, because it would have come down to right at the end. This sort of blowout that we saw in Game 6 was like, that wasn't really a Kobe thing that ever happened too often. And I think Lakers fans are so blinkered when it comes to measuring up LeBron's end game tactics versus someone like Kobe, who would have just taken that shot himself, even if he had 12 people trying to, stop him from the crowd.
Yeah, just a quick disclaimer for anyone about to come at Matt for saying Lakers fans can be quite blinkered. He's allowed to say it. He's a Laker fan. He's allowed to say it. Just
all the Kobe books on my bed don't give it away, but okay. But yeah, no, I've the people were sharing all kinds of pictures of like Kobe taking shots over like two or three defenders, and it's like they're different players. LeBron has always been a different player. He is the ultimate facilitator. He the comparisons to Magic Johnson are more than just. He's got a next level IQ when it comes to finding the right pass. And that's the thing that at the end of the day, I think Miami missed, is they missed Goran Dragic bringing that to them. And especially when it came to Bam, I think that's probably why we saw a Bam that was underperforming, is because he didn't have that sort of two-man connection that they had throughout the opening rounds of the postseason. So yeah, it was a disappointing game. I mean, you could have turned on and switched off at halftime and known the result, and you never really want that to be the case. And especially being like, if you're an English person like we are and you're staying up late to watch games like that, when it's a blowout, it's not much fun. Like when it gets to 2 o'clock,
when it's cold and dark and you're on your own,
and it gets to 2 o'clock in the morning and you're eating too many Mars bars. Reference to later, but like you get fed up with it. And ultimately, I think that these final series actually impressed. We had some good games, despite the fact Miami were underhanded. But I think it speaks a lot to the mentality of that franchise. And LeBron actually praised it afterwards and post-game interviews and said, "Look, we knew even with the injuries, this team was going to fight. Like that is an organization that it's just bred into them." I mean, we mentioned it last week. You mentioned it with Pat Riley. Like there is a mentality here. It's next man up. Stick your head in the ice bucket, as you were saying. Like, just go out there and give it your all. And Jimmy Butler, there's that amazing high quality video from Game 5 where he's just completely balled over, like after he scored a layup and he's drawn a foul. Like he just looks completely out of it. And I think they gave everything to stay in the games they had to win. And then this one was just a bit too much for them.
Did you see the clip of him? So game 5, he played 47 or 48 minutes. Did you see the clip of him after the presser where he got up off the after the interview to leave the interview room? He walked like he pooped his pants. He was proper like you could tell. I got the video and I was like, bam, showing it to my missus who has no interest whatsoever in it.
Yeah.
I was like, look at this guy walking. She was like, why are you showing me this? Like, he played 47 of 48 minutes. She was like, cheers. I was like, but just why don't you like? He was proper aching. He felt like I feel after 12 minutes of local league. It's madness. You mentioned a highlight of Dwight Howard's Laker career the other day. I can't remember.
Taking threes, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what the last basket was last night?
Dwight Howard taking the three. That was redemption for that 2013 or whenever it was season. You know, that was the moment that all Lakers fans had been waiting for. And his last tweet when he played for the Lakers before he left was to go to Houston was, I hope I can make it up to you someday.
Yeah,
and now he has in the bubble, you know, playing fairly limited minutes, but making an impact when he was on the court.
Hey,
so.
he started for most of the games. 5 of the games he started. That's incredible to go back to then and think that Dwight Howard would be starting in the finals 7 years later for that franchise.
I think size and strength counted a lot in the series, and certainly the ones the Lakers played where they could just play bully ball. They could just put guys on and beat you with size.
But they didn't do that last night.
No. But they have done throughout the whole playoffs, and they just go against it. Yeah, and I think Miami were probably like, "Hang on a minute, what's going on here?"
Somehow
we're not used to this.
They thought the best shot to take was a Tyler Hero mid-range one-handed floater, and I was just sitting there, just watching it drain away, and just it wasn't the final game we all wanted, especially Miami fans, but it wasn't the game we wanted.
But like Jimmy gave us a legendary performance in Game 3. And he was always never going to match up to that. Like he gave everything he could in that game. And I just feel like if Dragic and some of those other guys had been a bit more healthy, and, you know, guys like Kendrick Nunn had been a bit more on form because he's not been great.
Well, he had COVID.
Well, yeah.
We're learning now. I watched the, sidebar, because everyone loves a sidebar to talk about COVID. So I was watching the announcements today, and they were talking about the long-term effects of COVID, even on young people, and the ability or the difficulty in breathing and things like that. And weirdly, my mind goes straight to basketball and like, okay, so the guys who tested positive, who rely on cardio, you know, to get them through games, could suffer some detriment. And maybe that's the sort of thing we saw when Nunn wasn't back to form.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I read
a terrible tangent.
No, I read something similar on the BBC, and it was saying like people are struggling walking upstairs and all kinds of things like that, which is something that, you know, especially people in their 20s and early 30s, like that isn't something you tend to really struggle with. But people who have had COVID have suffered the symptoms of it. So it is a case of, you know, you may be young and playing basketball, but there might be some sort of underlying after effects that we don't know anything about yet. So, I mean, I think the bubble
and wear a mask, idiots. Sorry for that.
That was random. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, we got our predictions right.
We did. Yeah. Did you want to make a bigger deal about that? Is this because you want to rub it into some people?
Yeah. You know, some of them might even be listening in and actively involved in tonight's podcast, but not actually on it, who called for things like sweeps and
Next.
Me, you, obviously Hugh Hopkins, Steve Laird, our fantastic artist, Sean Guest, Charlie Liptrot, Gare Deegan. We all predicted Lakers in 6, so we got what we wanted. There was a few Miami in 7 in there, so we might have got that, but we didn't in the end.
That would have been interesting. Like,
it would have
7
been.
games. Anything can happen in the 7th game. But one of the things I noticed for the first time in the whole bubble was the lack of crowd noise in the finals, because I only really noticed it
during the trophy celebration, where it was the most awkward thing I've ever watched in my life.
No, in the games as well. Like, whilst the game is going on, only in the finals do we get the non-fake pumped. Oh look, you know, it's hit 112 decibels. No, it hasn't. It's just a video they're playing. There wasn't like that tension, and just the first time I noticed it was in this series, and just feels like something worth pointing out, because I didn't think I missed fans. I've much preferred the product here without all the razzmatazz of the of as much as I'm a stan for Red Panda, I didn't miss the repetitive halftime shows.
You do love a red panda.
I love Red Panda. She's incredible. She is basically my goat. You know, no one can capture what she does on a ridiculously tall unicycle. But yeah, she's phenomenal. But I didn't miss her or the gymnast with the tiny dog or anyone else really. You know,
The show blitz and glamour that makes it the
family
the
entertainment thing. No, I really enjoyed this. It was only in the finals did I notice the lack of fans and think, actually, no, I think I prefer it when there is that atmosphere.
Yeah. No, it was strange, and watching them do their post game speeches afterwards. Jeannie Buss spoke for quite a long period of time, which I understand, but usually an owner just goes up and says, "Brilliant, that's great," and then wanders off, and someone else takes hold. Frank Vogel spoke really highly. He was trying to inject all this energy into the speech, but it was weird because there was nobody around to cheer
half
on.
the players weren't listening to him as well.
Yeah, and
you could sort of see him looking at them like a teacher, getting annoyed and embarrassed. But
that's what was cool, because you had the post game interviews and you saw the kids playing in the background, and and that was really sweet. And that's an aspect of the NBA that I don't think we'll ever see unless we have another bubble next season, which we'll get onto. But we might never see that again. And just to have J.R. Smith had his shirt off within seconds of the final horn sounding.
Why is it every time J.R. Smith wins a championship, are we talking about him with his shirt off? Do you not remember?
He picked the trophy up?
What? No, Rondo picked it up, didn't he?
No, it was J.R. Smith, wasn't it? Or have I got that?
Oh yeah, no, it was J.R. Smith. He popped around the front and lifted it up.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking,
Classic line from that was Adam Silver going, "The trophy's yours," and I think the suitcase is too.
Yeah, and it was we don't know what to do with this really expensive suitcase here that Louis Vuitton have spent some time designing.
Yeah, I don't know, for it to, of all the places for it to go as well, to Jeannie Buss, who probably has just Louis Vuitton baggage coming out of her ears. Anyway.
I mean, it was a disappointing game, but we did have standout performances. Rajon Rondo came off the bench, scored 19 points, 8 for 11 from the field. Playoff Rondo in full show. Anthony Davis was lights out throughout this entire series, not just this game. I mean, how much better can AD get? I mean, there's this debate going around at the moment about who's LeBron's best teammate, and The Ringer posted a thing earlier where they broke it all down, and they had AD as his best teammate, and was saying if you'd have replaced Chris Bosh with AD back when they were at Miami, that team would have just, the San Antonio Spurs ain't winning no finals, and neither are the Dallas Mavericks.
You'd say the same as if you replace Kevin Love with AD. That those finals suddenly become scarily good. Not that there's anything against Kevin Love, but he just was another guy who was a mismatch in that series for the Cavs. And yes, before anyone comes at me, I know he got a hand up on Steph on that final shot, but still, he got played off the floor for a lot of those series. And I don't think you could do that with AD.
Yeah, it's just LeBron is always since 2009 when he lost in Cleveland to Boston, he's always driven his narrative, and to drive it to where it is now, what is he, 35, 36?
He's 35, he'll be 36 in December.
He's just won another title. They could go back to the finals again next year. This team is still stacked with talent. We haven't seen the best of AD yet, I don't think. And playing with LeBron, he's only going to get better. And he's already probably the most unstoppable player in the league when he actually puts his mind to it. He still has those off nights, like we were saying, but
most unstoppable guy in the league. Kevin Durant would probably want to fight just to throw out there. Right. I think
Kevin Durant's podcasting at the moment. He just doesn't want to fight anyone.
Man, all right. Kevin Durant's burner personas. But no, Kevin Durant is unstoppable, and he's basically the same size as AD. His handle's tighter, his three's better. Yeah, he's not physically as big. He also doesn't seem quite as fragile, despite the fact he's had significant injuries. He had the injuries recovering from now, but he also had the breaks in his foot. Do you remember them a few seasons back at OKC? But somehow he's less fragile than AD in my mind. I think mentally is where AD is going to come on next with LeBron. Like he's now had that bar set. He's seen what it takes
he's
to
done
win.
it now. Yeah,
He's been in this environment. You're only going to improve going in that year in, year out. He didn't have that in New Orleans. There's just like, I think it was Rondo was talking in his presser, and he said basically, I won with the Celtics, and I thought it was going to be like this every year, working for a championship. And then some of the other franchises I've been at in between, and this is just a boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is hate coming now. It's just not the same attitude. It's not the same culture. And he's exactly right. And you wonder how many guys spend too long in the wrong kind of culture and how that impacts them. So
yeah.
AD absolutely can be better, but I would say he's probably about 95% right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's done everything he could have possibly done up to this moment. I think weirdly, you could draw some parallels to like LeBron's first 7 years in Cleveland with obviously AD's first few years in New Orleans. Like you had an organization that wasn't putting a team around him very well. Admittedly, that Boogie Cousins thing they tried worked out really well until Boogie got injured because nobody was stopping those two when they were playing well. But in the end, it came down to, LA comes in. LeBron had said quite, adamantly, I want to play with Anthony Davis. He goes out and gets him. Yeah, drives his narrative yet again, as he has done for the last 10 years. And you get AD comes in, he's a defensive player of the year, constant all defensive team member, all-star. Like he just comes in, he's got loads of accolades, and this is the accolade he needed. And that's now pushed him over. So mentally, you're right. I think he could next year just take that step up and realize I've done it once, I can do it again. So, he might end up having that approach that LeBron James has to the regular season, where it's just a case of I'm in, second or third gear. Yeah.
Maybe. I just think that AD is getting not more love than he deserves because he's gone without it for so long. But there's a lot of like overcompensating about how good he is when he has been this good already.
Yeah,
basically.
Magic Johnson wound me up actually. Magic Johnson was on ESPN saying now he's with the Lakers, everyone knows who he is, and I'm thinking, well, hang on, most people who were NBA fans knew who AD was before he was in Los Angeles.
I don't think they did. I don't think they appreciated it. I think when you say most people who are NBA fans, you mean specifically like not hardcore, but like people who are actually dedicated. Not just people who put NBA fans in their bios. They'll just be like, half of them won't even heard of Pelicans, let alone watch them. And this is a guy who in his season 2 was an all-star and was a top 10 player quite quickly after he entered the league and was an MVP candidate and somehow managed to get a series win. Although I've given him credit for this series win over the Blazers when actually it was Rondo and Holiday who did the damage there. But you know what I mean? He didn't have the talent around him. He was in a small market. And Magic Johnson's right. People know who he is now because he's a Laker.
Okay, fair enough.
Bored of that conversation, Mike.
It's just a general impact on the Lakers' effect on the league anyway. Alex Kennedy, who's obviously an NBA writer on Twitter, posted earlier on that the Lakers have become the top-selling NBA champion in Fanatics history, per the company. In the first 12 hours after winning the title, the Lakers have already sold more merchandise than Fanatics' previous record, the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers, also a LeBron James team, sold in the 30 days after their championship win. Fans from 110 countries have already bought Lakers championship merchandise.
That's mad. It is really mad. I'd like to know, look, this is the real little bit I want to know from Fanatics. How many of these people ordering Lakers championship gear were ordering Warriors championship gear 2 seasons ago? Please tell me that. That's all I need to know.
You've got connections at Fanatics. Can you not find out?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they'll tell me that. But that'd be interesting. I'm not surprised. They are, without a doubt, the biggest. One of the top 2 biggest in terms of their brand. No, they're the biggest in brand value. They're not worth the most because the Knicks are, because people just love New York for stupid reasons and everything. Because
they were made famous by Friends, the New York Knicks. Nobody seems to admit this, but they were made famous by being that team that they used to mention in Friends.
Now you're showing your age there. Now they were good before Friends was on.
What, the 90s?
Yeah, the Friends was like wasn't that like 93 to 99?
Yeah, that's like.
Oh no, they did the Millennium, so it went into 2000, didn't they?
Yeah, so like the back end
were good before
the Knicks were good when Friends was on, so that's why everyone knows. A lot of people just go over to New York and assume that
The Knicks
they
is
can
the
see
thing
it.
to
The
do.
Knicks are still the thing to do, but they're not because Patrick
I
Ewing.
need more evidence, Matthew.
Patrick Ewing retired.
I like this theory, but I need more evidence.
I wouldn't want to trust it again against any actual hardcore Knicks fans like Nick Whitfield, who's sitting in the Twitch chat. But
who legally changed his name by deed poll to start with the silent K.
Yeah. Random. Bubble reactions. Just as we because I've just looked, we spent half an hour talking about the opening of the finals.
Of course we did. We're talking about the NBA finals. Would you like to talk about the other game that happened?
No,
there wasn't another game.
I'm just weary of dictator Kirk sitting in there in the background somewhere.
Prefers captain.
Captain. Bubble reactions. I mean, what was your favourite bubble moment for a start? Let's just get that over with. Mine is probably the run that the Phoenix Suns had. I really enjoyed that, and I was pissed when they didn't get in.
Yeah, so I agree with that. That was one of several. I think Luka just exploding, youngest player to get a 40-point triple-double. He also had another one which was like 36, 14, and 19 or something stupid like that.
Against the Clippers as well.
Yeah, the Blazers run was pretty sick when they're back to the wall just to make it into the playoffs or the play-in and then win the play-in. The Suns run and Devin Booker in general, the falling down iconic shots, the dunks he threw down, which he's not known for. I like stuff like Taco learning to swim, stuff like that.
I saw that. Yeah,
the content we've had from this bubble has been so unique that it's just we're never going to see this again, assuming there's no more bubbles. Honestly, I'm all for the bubbles. I'm like an aero convert right now, just all the bubbles. There was loads. Ja Morant was explosive and amazing. There was some great dunks from Porzingis, from Chris Boucher. Railcam as well.
Yeah, we need Railcam. We've mentioned this before, though. I'm not too sure the franchise owners, especially if they own their arenas, will be too happy in terms of taking chairs out to fit those things in.
I think there's ways around it. I've come up with.
What about that wire? You know, when you don't watch football, but this is probably going to just fly over your head. The wire that they run over the top of the stadium. Yeah, I'm waving. We're both waving off hands around here like crazy.
Which is great for everyone who's listening on audio providers. So make sure next time you join us on twitch.tv/DoubleClutchUK. I'm getting this plug-in. But it wouldn't work in basketball, the overhead wire, would it? Because you're throwing the ball up.
True. There's also danger of dropping the camera on someone's head, I'd imagine. But
well, that's the same in any sport, there's a danger. But true. I'm trying to think how it would work on the sign. I think you need to essentially lift the front row, keep it the same distance that it is, and flatten the angle. It's not a curve. We're not flattening a curve. We're flattening an angle of seats. So from that to that, and basically lift the front seat up and put the rail cam under the front row of seats. So it's underneath your feet, perhaps behind perspex or something, so you don't have anyone sort of kicking it with their feet or whatever. But I think they can come up with a way. It needs to stay. Sink the court down further. I'm
not laughing at you. I was just laughing at Big Hazard in the chat saying his favourite moment from the season was Embiid getting ratted by Karl Anthony Towns, which I completely forgot had happened this season. But yeah, that was amazing because then you had Ben Simmons stepping in and trying to choke him out, which was even funnier.
I didn't realise we were going whole season. I thought.
I wasn't planning on going whole season.
Very early.
I just realised that. Yeah, TJ Warren bubble moment, that was a good one as well.
Oh yeah, the bubble Jordan that lasted.
It was cool, and I think it gave the NBA a lot of focus. They did ask the players last night how they, did they feel like it was the right thing to do, and I think a lot of them said, despite the mental difficulties that a lot of them were having, and we mentioned last week, Paul George, for example, it was because it allowed them to sort of channel their social responsibility as well. So the Black Lives Matter movement was very focused.
Huge.
I mean, you had the logo on the court. Players were asked about stuff every game. They wore shirts. They did great support of the WNBA. I think the WNBA had record viewing figures this season, which is great and hopefully a step up for them.
Fanatics. It surprised me going head to head with the NBA season. Because one of the concerns I voiced at the start was
the finals on the same nights. It was strange.
Madness. I mean, admittedly, they sort of back to back them, but still, it seemed you think that one would take away from the other. I also liked that when the players felt their message, the social justice message was being lost, they were able to say, hold on a sec, let's just pump the brakes on this. And they stopped for, 2-3 days that we ended up stopping for, and reassessed, spoke with the league, refocused the social message, and then began again. I liked that they were able to take control like that, and that the league saw it as an opportunity to collaborate rather than to sort of bang heads.
Yeah, and the NBA has always been quite forward thinking of that. I mean, in terms of the bubble, it's been a true showcase for sports, because you're looking at the NFL started off again now. They've got all kinds of problems because they've got, obviously, some teams have got fans in the stadiums, some haven't, and they've had COVID breakouts amongst teams, and they've postponed games, and then they've tried to play games, a few days later, but then they've had to postpone it again because there's players still suffering from COVID. And the NHL had a bubble. The Stanley Cup Finals were a couple of weeks back. The NBA and the MLS have had a bubble in the States, and they've gone really well.
The
And
MLS one didn't they have a team leave on the first day?
They may have done. I wasn't
They
aware of
turned
this.
up and then went, "Oh, we've all got COVID. Let's go home again." Brilliant.
Well, I wasn't aware of that, but I'd assumed it was going okay.
I'm sure it was, because I would not know anything about the MLS unless it popped up on an NBA chat. But yeah, 106 days, 0 cases. Fantastic. What a result.
Yeah, and it was a showcase of how sports can adapt to COVID, and I think other leagues have learned from it. Rapid testing is something that we've mentioned before, that the NBA was massive in helping develop, and that's now rolled out globally, I think, to places that have now realised, oh, hang on, we need these tests, and the NBA was a large reason for that. So, yeah, it was an impressive moment for the NBA as a whole. And, credit to the guys at The Athletic and Sports Illustrated and ESPN, all the people who went out there to cover it as well, because they had to live life in the bubble. And the content they were giving us from inside the bubble was brilliant. You wouldn't have thought the situation was any different. So, I saw Ben Golliver, who's been on the show with Josh before. I saw him. He was covered in champagne by LeBron James, but taking photos of LeBron in the locker room and stuff. I don't tend to think you get that close access when it comes to a normal regular season or finals, when there is fans and it's just chaos in the Staples Center or somewhere like that. They had a lot more access, and it was cool to see Taylor Rooks and people like that doing some really unique content. The players as well, which I think you mentioned before, some of the players have been doing really good YouTube content.
Yep, yeah, they have. It's been just so different. The content we've had as well, it's been more. I don't think intimate's the right word, but we've seen inside their lives, and this isn't normal life for them. So I'm not expecting, I'm not expecting that after practice in Boston every week, Ennis Cantor and Jaylen Brown stay behind to carry Taco Falls through the water. But we've seen a side of the players that we've never seen before, and we probably will never see again. And that's been really, really fantastic.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of the players tend to speak up quite a lot about social issues, but they've really just put their weight behind it now. And to do what the Bucks did, and to just cancel that game without telling the NBA and without even telling their opponents, to just have the balls to pull the trigger on that. A lot of sports leagues wouldn't dare do anything like that. It's taken NFL players however many years to stand up for their rights in their league. So
I think the NBA is ahead of the curve, but I don't think it's guilt-free is the wrong word. But look at we're only sort of 30 years away or 25 years away from similar things happening. And admittedly, it's a different commissioner now, and he's a lot more liberal and less ruling with an iron fist. But there were guys who got blackballed from the league in the early 90s for protesting, which is weird, given how it's a predominantly African American sport, and also weird given that you've got people like Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who stood up for civil rights in the 60s and 70s. So it was weird that there was sort of a backtrack in the 90s. But I'm digressing, because where they are now is a good place to be. I mean, ideally you wouldn't have to deal with any of this because everyone would get along nicely, but unfortunately there are dickheads everywhere in the world.
I think Kareem actually had wrote, it might be Kareem, I might be wrong, had wrote a piece for The Guardian today about the finals and how the NBA had handled the bubble, and how it was a real hallmark of how America should be at the moment. And it's a really interesting read, so if you haven't read it, I'd go out and check it. But it's basically just him saying, he's so proud of the players taking the social responsibility on their head, actually using the bubble as a chance to talk about some of these unique stories. And yeah, it's been a strange time. The Miami Heat's future, obviously losing this finals. I don't think anybody expected them to get there in the first place. What's next for the team in South Beach? I mean, do they just hang around a year and then hope they can entice a certain Giannis Antetokounmpo to the beach hut?
Well, to the beach. Well, they're always going to do that. Pat Riley is the ultimate sort of, there's loyalty, and then there's loyalty to the franchise before loyalty to the players. We saw the way, like Dragic is a free agent.
Yeah.
Do they pay him? He's 34. They didn't pay D Wade. They didn't give him the golden parachute. They let him go to Chicago for that. So do they keep the band together? Solomon Hill, bit player, probably not worth 14 mil that he's on already. They can let him walk. Myers Leonard is on 11.2. They can let him walk because he's not getting the same money elsewhere. We don't know what the salary cap's going to be like. Jay Crowder's out of contract. Udonis Haslam. I get that he's been there for 20 years, but why is he like? He's not.
He looks good standing on the sidelines.
But why not have him just like as some sort of an assistant? Why is he taking a roster spot? I don't get that. And that's not. It is disrespectful, but I don't mean to disrespect him because he has been an absolute, franchise player in terms of committing to that team, and in a much more impactful way than someone like Nick Collison. Derek Jones is out of contract as well, so they've got a few guys out that rotation that we saw in the early playoff stages going this year.
Yeah.
And then it's just whether they pay for Dragic, and I would like them to because I think he's earned it with them. But I think Pat Riley will see things through, like he's not going to get all emotional about it and say, okay,
misty-eyed.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be cold and hard and businesslike and say, well, okay, you're a 34-year-old point guard. How many more years have you realistically got left at this level? And the answer is 1, maybe 2. Well, how much are we going to pay you then? So I'd like to see him stay, but I don't know if he will. I don't know if they'll make it work.
Goran's by all accounts, seems like a really, really lovely guy, and he might take less just to stay in a situation that he enjoys and has had some success in, and they've shown a lot of faith and trust in him. So yeah, it's an interesting one to see what Miami ends up doing. Looking forward and ahead to next season, obviously the 2021 season, we don't know when it's going to start. Originally, I think it was set for December, but the longer things have gone on, the worse COVID has got in the United States across the board. I think things are now up in the air. You've got teams that obviously
originally it was this month.
Yeah.
But now it's the earliest will be Christmas Day, but possibly January.
I mean, I was thinking about that. So, like, some of the teams obviously own their arenas. Some of the franchises have their own arenas they pay for. So they will want fans back in, which is natural because then they can start covering some of the costs of their arena fees, which I imagine are quite sizable. But then there's others who obviously just rent their arenas or whatever from, I don't know, somebody, the council. So if you're like Adam Silver right now and you've seen that a bubble works and you can go through a period of, a few months and have games and it works, do you do that again? Or, I mean, I don't know if the players would be for that or against it, but if it comes down to the fact that they're going to keep up their revenue, which is the NBA's biggest worry, they'll still get the TV revenue and everything, then I think they would do a bubble again.
But you'd have to condense the season, wouldn't you? Because I mean, this playoffs that started in playoffs, this bubble with the seeding games and the playoffs, and then the intra-squad scrimmages beforehand. So that was July that it started. 16th July rings a bell. And now we're like 4 months later. Yeah. 3 months later.
Do you think it might force the schedule change? Because for years everyone's been saying that the 82 games is too long anyway. So do you reckon it might condense something like that, or they might use it as another chance to experiment and have some sort of mid-season tournament again?
I think there might be a chance to experiment here because with the way COVID's gone, 82 games in and out of cities isn't, well, it's not going to work. But 82 games, getting everyone into a bubble for 82 games isn't going to work either. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a compressed season.
Letting in the 12 fans to Madison Square Garden.
All of them with bags on their heads.
I knew that was coming. All foam hands.
Like, I don't know where they go with it. I heard on the JJ Reddick podcast that there was some discussion about multiple bubbles stationed at different points around the country, and basically you'd go there, play, and you'd round robin everyone in there. So you've played them for your season quota, and then you'd go back home, see your family for a bit.
Yeah.
Then you'd go back into another bubble, do all the sort of the isolation, the quarantine, and play the other teams. And so you could probably do it in sort of 3 or 4 stages. which would be great because then we'd have loads of basketball and condensed bubbles. But that seems logistically implausible to find 4 sites that are as firstly that they're on neutral ground. Otherwise, we're going to get the whole. If it's at the Staples, okay, let's send in who's going to get the advantage. Unless maybe that would be it. So say Staples is one of them. But then you have neither the Lakers or the Clippers play there, so every team that plays there is a visiting team. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Who knows what they're going to do? But logistically challenging is what this podcast is every week when we end up going on tangents. Moving on quickly, nothing but Nick's silly nonsense. Nick Whitfield has come up with yet another cracker. So here we go. LeBron James is great, but if you had to add him as a playable character in a video game, what would you choose and why? I'm going to let you go with this one as a big video gamer.
As a massive video gamer, I did pick up my Sega Master System from my mum's house the other day. So, massive gamer I am with my, 8-bit cartridges or whatever they were. I wonder if I still go on them, they'll still work. Anyway, I don't even know if this counts because playable character, Sid Meier's Sid.
How does that work?
You pick.
So he's the playable character. Like, is LeBron like the equivalent of Genghis Khan or something?
Yes, okay, that's exactly it. Because he's excellent. You know that you're getting someone who's committed.
I like the logic.
365 days a year, he's committed to the cause.
Hasn't missed a playoff game.
He builds alliances with the strongest players in the league, which is great because then he can spread his influence, which allows you to help take over. And he quickly moves on from a Citadel franchise, you name it, the minute he realised it's peaked, and he goes on to something bigger and better on its way up to carry on his trajectory. And I will win the game with influence because you can do that.
Yeah, that's okay. I get it now. It makes sense. I would go for somebody like, the natural conclusion is somebody who's like ripped and just destroys everybody and everything in its path. So Marcus Phoenix from the Xbox Gears of War franchise probably sticks out, but Kratos, I think, from PlayStation, obviously he's like a Greek mythical god. So yes. LeBron fixed that pretty well, I think.
He's a Greek mythical god in what? What's it? You call him Kratos? Is the game called Kratos?
No, the game's called God of War.
Oh right, okay. No, I've not heard of that.
And I think LeBron shares the same sort of physical aspects as Kratos, and looks like he could kill a few people quite easily with an axe. So I'm going for Kratos.
Haters will say he lacks that killer instinct. He doesn't want to take that last shot for the fatality.
Yeah. Oh well. Talking discourse on Discord. Discord has been busy this week, obviously with the NBA 2K21 Next-Gen footage announcement. There was plenty of chat around that. There was obviously more GOAT discussions. People were up late for the finals last night.
Yes.
Did you notice anything going down?
Kicks chat. I think Harry dropped something in there. First time I think we've
Harry's
seen
always
Kicks
dropping
chat.
things in bloody.
Yeah, but he dropped some Leaning shoes in there, and we've not probably discussed Leaning shoes since they were, a former sponsor of the show. There are other shoe brands available. Season. Was it 16-17?
I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was just interesting to see like people still talking about Leaning, despite the fact their marquee player is retired.
CJ McCollum's their marquee player now, I guess, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's not on the same level as Dwayne Wade. Is he? Come on now.
Well, no, I wasn't saying, but it's they have a player.
We've got D'Angelo Russell as well, but
oh yeah, true. Forgot about
it. I think it was D'Angelo Russell's kicks actually that Harry shared. So yeah, there's a few things in there that were really good. We're now up to 112 people, so keep coming in. Come on, have a chat with us. I'm expecting some Raptors fans to join us the other day because he tweeted about it. I saw it and liked it, and I was like, here we go. But I haven't seen him pop up yet. But that's discord.me/doubleclutch. So come join the fun, because even when the season stops, basketball never stops.
Oh yeah, there's going to be plenty to talk about over the next few weeks. Listener questions. Dave Kelly said, what is everyone's late night / early morning tip-off game? a couple of beers, load up on coffee, or full sugar rush like me. And he actually sent us a picture in the Discord of everything he bought. So there's 4 Mars bars ice creams there, which I hope he put back in
the ice creams as well.
Yeah, I thought he'd put them, but I hope he put them back in the freezer before it got to to 12:30. And then you've got some Max Strong Walker's crisps, a couple of Lucozade bottles that are just pure glucose, so they'll keep you awake.
6
is
7-Up
that
cans.
Is that popcorn? That's popcorn.
Yeah, that's Butterkist popcorn.
And some 7-Up cans, so loaded.
It's the sweet popcorn as well. Like, he is surviving on.
What I want to know,
He's
Dave,
going to give himself diabetes.
did you actually go to sleep after the game had finished?
Yeah, he would have done. He'd have crashed, wouldn't he? Because all these have got really high glycemic indexes, so he would have just immediately passed out like 30 seconds after finishing the last one.
Either that or you would, yeah. But
or he'd have been sick.
I mean, Mars ice cream is not something I would think of when I was watching a game at half.
No, I thought they were just normal Mars bars.
Regular Mars bars. No, they're ice creams.
So my snack game has changed significantly as I've receded in hairline and matured. Yeah, that's the one that's non-derogatory.
Like
about
a vino.
So it would have been like what are they called, Yazoos? Those chocolate, like those giant one of them. It would have been just like I'd have bought a multi-bag of Mars bars, and they wouldn't have lasted till the game started. I'd have just sat there munching them.
A lot of Mars bars fans on the show this week.
Yeah, maybe I'd have ordered in a pizza or something. But now it'll be black coffee, and I'll probably go to sleep before the game, and then wake up black coffee. I'll have some unsalted pistachios because they're just beautiful. Some salted popcorn, and probably some nachos with some hummus, and maybe just some carrots to dip in my hummus.
What?
Hummus.
What?
You know what I'm talking about, Kirk. I'm sophisticated.
No!
Okay. Well, mine changes. I mean, last year, you remember I watched the opening round. I watched the first few games of the playoffs around one of my mates, and we got in a massive Nando's. So that managed to survive us. But games were tipping off at like 6, 7 o'clock our time, so it was fine. Normally, it would probably just be a giant bag of cool original Doritos, some dip, and probably quite a lot of Pepsi Max cans, but that's about it. I mean, when I was at uni, it was pizza, but there would be like 7 of us staying up to watch it. So
yeah, it's different when it's a collective, but when you're on your own, it's harder when you're on your own.
Exactly. So I just end up with a couple of cans of Pepsi Max, which is readily available in our household, and plenty of Doritos. So can't go wrong.
It will change. You wait. Replace the Pepsi Max with coffee, and the Doritos will become whatever supermarket you shop at, home brand. Just get me the plain salted ones. That's all I need. Actually, I'm starting to worry about my salt intake now. I think it's almost as high as Steve's sugar intake in that. Was it Steve or Dave? I can't remember his name now.
It was Dave. Ginger Shack messaged and said, "Who's the best NBA mascot?"
Not even a debate. Benny the Bull.
Yeah. I'd agree. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Benny the Bull was also. Do you remember when they had the London 2012 Memorial Games a couple of years after?
Yeah.
They had everyone was banging on about this amazing mascot that was like a hedgehog, like a not Sonic the Hedgehog, but like in Austin Powers, it's run like it's Godzilla, but not the real Godzilla because we don't own the marketing rights. It kind of was like that. And everyone talked about how amazing it was. And I'm pretty sure I heard from a very legitimate source, this is really long-winded now, that the guy who is Benny was this mascot. They'd flown him in especially to do this through the summer. So there you go.
Mascots are precious, man. I saw that Arsenal were getting rid of Gunnosaurus the other week, and everyone kicked off. Like it's hard times, You got to protect.
My dad only comes with me to the NBA Europe game.
Yeah, I remember.
To see the mascot.
And the inflatable.
He's Bango the Buck's biggest fan.
Nice.
Especially the inflatable ones. He loves the inflatable mascots.
I mean, I feel like mascots have peaks and troughs. Like they're like almost like players. Like Stuff the Magic Dragon was on top of the scene a couple of years ago because of what he did in the dunk contest. But now he's dropped off a bit. So
not what Aaron Gordon did, just what Stuff did.
What Stuff did, yeah. So now I think it needs to be stepped back up, and Stuff the Magic Dragon needs to come up with something else.
Who's the worst NBA mascot?
There's got to be Clutch, right?
Maybe. I'm not a big fan of Lucky.
Lucky's annoying. Hugo's even worse, I guess. What's that weird baby king thing that the Pelicans
King
used to...
Baby Cake? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that is quite creepy.
So
Yeah.
he used to creep me out, whatever it was. But anyway, moving on. Harry Harrison said the Athletics' Anthony Slater said this morning that Anthony Davis has now vaulted himself into the conversation for the league's best player, like better than LeBron or Giannis in brackets. Discuss.
I think it's a short conversation. Better than? No, not better than. If he was,
you said
better,
earlier on, KD's
yeah.
probably better. So
I don't think he's better than Giannis. I know that you and I differ slightly on that one because you ranked like 8 people in the top 5 the other week, and none of them are Giannis.
At the moment, I'm not impressed. He needs to win something.
Okay, we'll team him with LeBron or AD and see how he does.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
He should be a GM.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like people are hating on Giannis far too hard, and I just think he's going to smash some people in the face next season.
Similar to the same sort of hate that LeBron got when he couldn't win anything in Cleveland. It's one of those
maybe that's not a bad comparison to make.
Franchises that nobody cares about. You see.
You mean people don't care about Milwaukee? I heard someone talking about how the Pfizer Forum was like a powerhouse to go into and watch games, and I was like, "What in Milwaukee? No, come on."
Harley Davidson, like the only thing Milwaukee's known for, or have I got that wrong?
Harley Davidson sponsor them definitely. I don't know.
Right.
They're known for cheese and cream, isn't it? That's why all the Green Bay Packers are all cheeseheads and all that.
Bloody cheeseheads.
That's what Milwaukee's known for, is the Green Bay Packers.
Normally we would do games of the week, but the season's finished, so we can't do that. Obviously, the NBA2K trailer dropped, the Next-Gen one. What were your thoughts on it, just quickly?
Well, I really enjoyed it. The trailer looked fantastic, like ridiculously good. And then part of me had to temper it. It's like, well, some of these trailers now do look fantastic, but when we play the game, it's significantly reduced in quality. So I wonder whether, you know what I mean? It's like the Final Fantasy ones are like, oh, footage
not
is
in-game footage.
Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't sure it was in-game footage. If it is, then holy crap, it's amazing. I am not a big gamer. You know that. Kirk knows that. So I actually was feeding off your two in the conversation we were having. You two were like, it was tangible, the excitement through the Slack chat. Yeah. You two were just like, look at this, look at that. Yeah, this is a family show. I can't say what I was going to say, but you two were really enjoying it, and it was. It looked phenomenal. I would love to play it. I'm seeking permission to purchase a next-gen console. Yeah. It's not going very well.
I think they did a pretty, in however long it was, like 2 minutes or whatever it was, to give us a really good teaser of what the next gen consoles are capable of. Like, and I said it when I did the PR post. Like the last time the new consoles came out, when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, NBA 2K14 was the game that showed it off the most. And since then, the 2K franchise has gone on in leaps and bounds in the UK. It's consistently like one of the top purchased sports games, which I would never even realized until very recently, because one of my friends is a store manager for Game, and he says we have more people than ever come in and ask for NBA 2K. So it will be a game that will shift systems. People will buy their PlayStation 5 and probably buy 2K with it just to see what the game looks like, even if they're not necessarily, a massive basketball fan. But the trailer in 2 minutes showed us super high def beards, which we'll get onto in a minute. We saw this new ray tracing feature, which is how light reflects off objects in the game. So the court in Dallas looked amazing, especially when we had that aerial footage. And somebody on YouTube has done a direct comparison of those scenes. Basically, they've replayed that entire video, but on the current gen, and put them next to each other. I'll find the video and send it to you after this. Actually,
I thought you were going to say compared to like the actual arena, like an actual film.
No, he's done a comparison of the obviously NBA 2K21 on PS4 versus the video that we saw on PS5, and the difference is notable. Like the resolution increase is obviously there because we're getting a higher resolution console, but the crowd is nowhere near as blurry as it was.
That was the big thing I noticed. Like
you obviously had Luka coming out and dapping up Mark Cuban, and yeah, it was really cool.
I hadn't noticed before how dark the crowd is on the current gen.
Like faded.
Yeah, it's like, and now it makes sense because they didn't have the power to make them look like humans, basically. And now it was just like someone had shone a spotlight on the crowd. It was mad. Like, I'm not sure how much that'll impact the gameplay, not at all, but the aesthetic it might change just the way the game feels. Just being able to see like an arena, although not really on point, really, given we just had a bubble with 0 fans. So missed that one, 2K.
They are good at putting in the little tiny bits. Like if you're a proper NBA nerd, you appreciate like the Mark Cuban being in there and things like that. Most people wouldn't, like, and casual NBA fans just wouldn't be bothered. But like they do the little
Shark Tank.
Yeah. What's that guy from Billions doing in there? Like seriously, I mean, Billions is something we need to get onto at some point, because every NBA, like, it seems to be a thing that NBA players have to turn up on Billions. It must be part of their contract with the NBA Players Association or something.
Not watching it. Not watching it. Refusing to. Come on, Kirk. You want to do a quiz, don't you, before we finish?
Is he actually going to talk, or are we going to have to work this out?
So the game is, we've got to guess who these are. I already know who that is. Do you know, Matt?
Hang on, what are we looking at? Question.
Well, there's a picture on the screen right now. Can you see it?
Oh, on the actual screen. I can.
You can look at it the other way if you wish.
Looking in the Discord, because that's where he told me to look.
But I'm going with. Well, I already know the answer, and I know I've got them right.
Klay Thompson.
You think Klay Thompson? That's Steph. Which one? Firstly, which one's the real face? Is it on the left or the right? Is the real face?
Left's video game, right's real.
Yeah, and it's Steph Curry.
Is it Steph Curry?
Oh,
okay.
This is basically we're looking at how good facial hair is, or hair in general now on this new game. It's mad.
I pointed out how
called
insane
Fear
it is.
Beer. Come on then, Kurt, roll them up. Ooh. Who
the hell?
All right, okay. The right-hand side is real, and it's Alex Caruso.
What? Yeah, but these are taken from the trailer, are they? Because Caruso wouldn't have been.
Wouldn't have been in the trailer. I think the right-hand side is. I'm going so. Who are you going with, Matt? Come on.
I think it's Klay Thompson again. I'm going to go Klay Thompson again.
What screen are you looking through?
These must be taken from the trailer, right? So it's got to be one of the players. It's got to be the players that were featured in the trailer, surely. Kirk's not saying
it.
It's Boban.
Oh, that hurt my ribs.
Himself. I made a for that as well. That's Steve Kerr to me.
Yeah.
Fake game's left and real's right.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Stevie Kerr.
Boom. Got that one.
Ben Simmons. Real one is right.
Was Ben Simmons in that trailer?
I don't know. Can't remember it now. It's going to be flipping Clay, isn't it?
Clay. Real Clay right, fake Clay left.
Double Steph
Curry again. Oh, Jesus.
What you've just shown us part of the jersey.
Whose number's who?
Well,
that's Steph again. That's just Steph's client.
No.
Who wears the 5 for the Warriors? Kirk, you're putting us on the spot here.
Wow, 5 for the Warriors.
There's 5 for the Warriors. I don't know. Look at the chat able to help us out with this, because we're not doing a very good job here.
Yeah, I think the real one is the one on the right. I think the left.
Yeah, real has got to be right. Left is fake. Or
number 5, Andrew Wiggins. Sorry. What's he wear for the? Because he wore 21, didn't he? For
not really who it is, but
right. Well, the real one's on the left.
The real one's on the right.
The real one's on the right. Sorry. Okay, roll on. Who have we got? You can't even see who it is. But yeah, Steph again. Kirk, mate, you love Steph far too much. Next one.
He's not got much choice. There's 2 teams in this trailer.
Oh my God, which one's real? The one on the left is real. There's no way the camera would be able to focus on the crowd from behind it through all that. The one on the left is the video game. Sorry,
left is video game. Right? Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. Do we have to guess who it is?
That's Steph taking the game-winning shot, I think.
It looks quite close to the rim if you look at the right one, but actually it's probably perspective. So, yeah.
Oh, look at that. This is terrible for anyone listening. I apologise.
That's why you should come and watch us on twitch.tv/DoubleClutchUK.
Oh man, that's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's an that I've got the Twitch stream on the lowest quality possible.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it through the Skype feed, so it's not very good
I'm
quality either.
thinking left is the video game, right is real. Something like that might be wrong now.
I'm thinking right is real because I don't recognise a patch above the Nike sign like that. But I know it's the 50-year celebration here. Right is real. And it's Dame Lillard.
Boom.
Next.
Okay.
How many of these are there?
I think that says cue to we can move on now. That's the last one.
Okay, that was code, was it?
That was good actually. That's quite
fun,
remarkable. Yeah. There were some bits they actually really struggled to tell the difference between real life and a game.
I was a tad thrown off when I thought we were looking in the Discord and then it appeared on the stream. That made everything a lot easier actually. It's amazing what our Gandalf comes up with.
Gandalf.
Oh, Jesus. Well, thank you everyone who's watched on Twitch tonight and who's commented in the chat. There's been a few people who've said things and we've tried to ping them out, but obviously we're losing our trail of thought when we do that every now and then, which is why we've rambled on for quite a bit tonight. Please do check out the website doubleclutch.uk. Follow us at doubleclutchuk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you can find us, we're on there. If you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, please do leave us a review because it helps push us up what used to be the iTunes charts. I guess there's something else now. Spotify's got charts now as well. Have you seen that? I mean,
Spotify's got what? Charts. Oh yeah.
They're
charges. I was like, what?
They're slowly putting a lot of weight behind podcasting, which is interesting. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, we shall see. I don't use Spotify, so I don't really care about Spotify.
I really like Spotify for podcasts. I think it's quite easy just flicking between, like, if you listen on your telly and then you flip it to your iPad or whatever.
I'm just OG, use my iPhone with...
You download it via dial-up.
I don't... I listen on the wireless.
Via your Time PC with a CRT monitor.
I don't even know what you're talking about. What's the CRT monitor?
Do you remember Time, the computer store? They used to sell PCs.
Anyway, moving on. No, I don't... No.
Recent articles to plug. No Bull, Billy Donovan is a Real Deal by Harry Harrison. Nikola Vucevic and the Orlando Magic's Catch 22 by Sean Guest. And get my teeth in. Can Michael Porter Jr. become the third star for the Denver Nuggets? Charlie Liptrot. So go check those out on the website. There's a couple more coming this week. I think Sid's wrote something and Gurr was writing something about Donovan Mitchell last I checked. So there'll be a couple of pieces out this week. New Discord followers. We had Footix. The Zone J, I think they've been doing a podcast as well, the Zone J, so go and check them out. Twitch UK_drill, and thanks to the Drew League for hosting the show tonight. So yeah, I think we've done everything.
We have.
The
NBA Finals, the bubbles is done. We've been here since the bubble started.
It's over with. I mean, I have to say thank you very much, Mike Miller, for a start, for doing every single show basically this season, I think.
No. I haven't done everything.
I'm pretty sure you've been on almost every show this season.
No, because you did one with Kirk whilst I was in a cabin.
Oh well, that wasn't a show. That was just me beating down on Kirk on NBA2K. So,
look, man, like LeBron doesn't miss playoff games, I don't miss Monday night pods.
Oh Jesus!
And people still won't say I'm the GOAT.
As well. That's a similar trajectory here.
Similar hairline.
Brilliant. Anyway, if you're watching I was going to say if you're watching games this week, but you won't be watching any games. Just keep an eye on Double Clutch UK and the Twitter and everything for anything that we're doing. We've got a couple of pods and special guests that I think Hugh Hopkins has got lined up. They're going to be edited in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll get them out. And then obviously we've got content that we had planned for the original off season, which was obviously supposed to be the summer. So we'll now shift that to whatever this gap is going to be, and then we'll go from there. So we will be back at some point.
Shout out to Kirk for sorting out this sorcery on Twitch and doing all that for us. Big help. Love it.
Well, we'll do a proper end of season review like next week or at some point in the next couple of weeks, because we've only done it for like 10 minutes today, but there's been so much we could talk about that's happened this season.
It's been over a year's worth of content.
Yeah, crazy. Oh, right. Anyway, we're going to go and edit this thing, I think. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller.
See you soon.
Kirk.
LeBron James.